Hi, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm joined today by the remarkable Brad Allen out of South Carolina today. Brad, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do in the real estate world.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. First of all, huge fan of the podcast slash video cast, whatever you're quantifying this as. What do they call them,
Oh,
vlogs now or something? But also of obviously Revaluate as well. So, yes, Brad Allen. I sleep in Columbia, South Carolina. We have a small boutique firm, independent firm, but we operate pretty much from Charleston to Knoxville, Tennessee. And I kind of joke that I'm in the housing business now. So we mainly focus on residential real estate, but we have a mortgage and insurance arm. So kind of a housing trifecta in one place. Been in the business since 2006. Horrible time to get into it, but good time for
yeah.
me because I was right out of college and broke anyways. So I learned all the hard lessons growing up through it and was, fortunate enough to meet a lot of good people and seek knowledge throughout that have introduced me to great people. And 2013, I was 30 under 30 for NAR. That was 10 years ago.
Whoa,
Because I'm
man.
40 now. Yeah, for the people having trouble with
Woo.
math. Um, but I would say that my superpowers are processes and systems. Like I'm not your quintessential real estate agent that is going to work a room and know everybody's family and mama's mama, but like I study the philosophy of real estate, and that's what I really hang my hat on. So, yeah, no, happy to be on here, happy to share what I know, and happy to learn some things as I go.
Yeah, for sure. You are always willing to share, and I find that to be a really admirable trait about you is that you will do the work and then put the information out there for others to benefit. And uh, who knows if they take it and run with it and do something good, or
Yeah.
if they just sort of file it away or not. But I really appreciate that, like you and people like you that are willing to be open and share. And truthfully, that's what Ask the Expert is about, is to kind of share good ideas and get people on the same page. We used to call it back in the day raising the bar, but I don't know what it's called these days anymore.
For sure. Yep, I agree. Thank you.
So Brad, we've been fortunate enough to have you as a Revaluate client for some time now. Do you remember how you heard about us, or how Revaluate got into your world, or we got into yours, or you got into ours? Like,
Yeah, so I first crossed paths with y'all at Inman, New York, one year, and it's one of those things. It's words of mouth. Like the cool thing about networking and travel, other than being expensive and being in different places, is you get to meet others. And when you're not in your own backyard, people are willing to help more than not. And so when you start having, we call it lobby con, right? You're just hanging around the
yeah,
lobby, meeting people. What do you do? What are you having issues with? And it came down to like, hey, I really wish I had a different approach of following because we're a sphere-based company. We have done the lead cycle. We've spent lots and lots and hundreds of thousands of dollars on lead gen per year, and we realized that sphere base is what we is our identity. And so I'm telling people that, and I'm like, I want to find a different way. They're like, oh, you got to meet Chris or Revaluate. And so I met somebody that worked for you at some point, and they set up a
yeah.
meeting. And I got to, look behind the curtain. I got to see what it really looked like. And I was like, I think this is going to be what we're looking for. It's a very nice, subtle way to help have a third eye on my database when I'm not looking at it to let me know if something's popping off that I'm not aware of. So that's how it came down. Is word of mouth ish, but also y'all were a vendor at the event as well, so it's easy to come talk to you at that moment.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
What events are you considering going to next for more LobbyCon things? I there's God, I was at the NAR show. We with all this stuff blowing up, and it was just catastrophic. And there's all that we're approaching the spring season in Vegas. And it's like, God, where, what, how, oh my gosh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, so and I push my agents to do it, although not everybody partakes, but I'm a big believer of getting out of your own soapbox, right? Because if you're just around the same people doing the same things, then that's how social norms happen in your market. You always wonder like why people list on a certain day because everybody just does that. So
Mm.
I like to get out. So obviously Inman, as much as it's can be controversial or clickbait or I don't know, sometimes just dramatic, they do a really good job. And being an
Mhm.
independent boutique, I don't have a corporate conference to go to, which even when I did, when I was a corporate franchise, it wasn't the best information. So getting around the Inman model was great. I do a lot with NAR, so I will be at their, they change all the damn names, but mid-year, annual, those kind of
NXT,
things.
where are you?
Yeah.
I
It's like they couldn't afford the E or something. I don't know. It was weird.
they
So
had to sell it as part of the sell off for.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. So I do a lot of those, and then I have some independent things I do. I do a lot with Hero Nation. So I go to Texas quite often with Wayne Salmons and do some
Yeah,
broker boardroom stuff and 30
yeah,
under 30 stuff. And I have bar camps wherever there's a bar camp. I try and show up because those are some of the best down to earth
love.
content that you can get.
I love bar camps, man. I hosted when I used to live in Kansas City and was hanging around KCRAR. I hosted, I don't know, 4 or 5
Oh
years in a
wow,
row. We got to run the bar camp, and that was a lot of fun. We did
yeah,
that
those are
back in the
great.
day. A lot of people from those bar camps are in a lot of really cool positions these days too, from back in the 2007-8 era. So
Yeah.
good folks. Um, a little while back, you did a really cool post on Facebook. I actually just reshared it on the Revaluate channel, and it went through and listed your tech stack,
Mhm.
kind of top to bottom. What was the process, and how did you decide on these different tools?
Yeah. So a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, to be honest with you. It's a twofold approach, especially being a company owner and a managing broker over some agents. Like you want the product to be simple for the agents, but yet it needs to be robust enough that it checks all the boxes that you have. And the reason I really went down that path is over the last, and maybe further than this, but I feel like it's 5 or 6 years, all these mergers and acquisitions really
Yeah.
started dividing the houses because back in the day, it was really great. We would use zip forms, which was a member benefit from our realtor association, took a
Mm,
lot of money off of me. And DocuSign, we'd pay for that. It would integrate, it would just be flawless, simple, and go. And also we use Skyslope, and I love all these companies. There's nothing wrong with any of these companies. Like they're all great, but they started getting bought by competitors and they started cutting off access. And so
yep.
now I'm literally paying employees full time to manage. The agent writes it, then sends it in, then we upload it, then we do it. Then I look at it and it was a mess. So I looked at it from the standpoint of if I never had to touch a piece of paper again, which I don't necessarily agree with, how can I make my agents more efficient? But also, there's data I want. So I got to meet with a lot of cool people like you, Chris. I've met you at conferences. We've hung out. I got to know your product better. I get to know the ethos of the company a little bit. Not that I have a say in it by any means, but like I get to know the what's behind it. And I ask people like, "Are you just building this to sell it?" And that's okay. That's the I mean, could be the American way. But I also want to know where if I got to make this change in the next little bit. And so
Right.
you get to know the people and then you get to know the people's people, right? You get to know the Alexes and the people that if you had a question, you can get to them. So that was a big part for me is knowing the ownership or knowing of the ownership. I don't know everybody. And then knowing the people that work with them in case I have a question or a concern and how that works out. And that's mainly how I looked at it. And then I made sure everything connected. And so we just took like 4 different programs, reevaluated, no pun
Mm,
intended. Yeah.
no.
And we actually made the big switch over to dot loop. And I find in our industry, it is easier to stay with the devil you know sometimes than to, try the new one. And, dot loop's been around. There's nothing wrong with them. Um, and we did. We got irritated by one company. We looked at like, hey, this is actually costing us more time and money. So if I want it here, what does it do for me? And it just kind of evolved from there. And the a plus, is dot loop, or not dot loop, but Zillow acquired Follow Up Boss, which is a great
Right.
CRM that we use. So I'm like, bonus points. Now we're gonna have even more communication. So it's working.
Was Dot Loop already integrated into Follow Up Boss before you did that, and now all under one roof?
Yeah. It was limited when I first signed on with Dot Loop, and then when they
Mhm.
made the announcement, I called up Dot Loop, and they said they're gonna have a gate that you have to opt in because agents have a tinfoil hat on, and they think Zillow's trying to steal everybody's information. Like everybody just needs to calm down. But I'm gonna click that shit because if my Dot Loop stuff can go straight into my Follow Boss and vice versa, everybody already has this data. We all have the data. We just have it in different databases. So like, what's it going to hurt?
Oh, I love that you said that. So, on the subject of stealing data,
Yeah.
This cracks me up because it's all out there. That like there's only a certain number of people in the United States, right? And if you want to segment that to be homeowners, there's only a certain number of homeowners in the United States.
Right.
They only have a certain number of phone numbers, a certain
Right.
number of physical addresses, a certain it's just one data set, people. Like it's
Yeah.
freaking out there, right?
Yep.
You used to get it and it would be delivered on your front porch in the
Right.
white pages for your whole damn city. It's
Yeah.
just one database. So people are worried about stealing stuff. Like, what the hell are you actually? What are you stealing?
Yeah. There's nothing left
That's always
anymore. I mean,
perplexed me.
yeah, the only thing I got to worry about is wiring instructions. At this point, people already have your social. They know your other stuff.
Okay.
Like it doesn't really matter. We use when we wanted to deep dive in people back in the day, and we still use it from time to time. We use Spookio, and it's not expensive,
Hmm.
and it'll tell you the next of kin where they used to live. It's not always. I mean, it's the best knowledge out there, but what they can pull up with the click of a button, because again, same database, they just have it formatted differently. It's not.
Yeah.
People need
Yeah.
to chill out.
Yeah. The sky is falling, though.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But it is interesting to hear agents talk about, oh, I'm leaving like as soon as that transaction happened with Follow Boss on the platform. What CRM do you use? Because I'm leaving because Zillow owns them. And I'm like, guys, I mean, they're smart people and they're putting a lot of energy into an already good product. So it could only get better. So it's just funny. I don't know.
So this makes me think, all right, so you've taken all the time to assemble this process, and you no doubt are measuring to determine what works and what doesn't. And so you've kind of selected these because in this workflow or circle or funnel or whatever you want to
Yeah,
use, this is working to some level. Can you kind of
correct.
speak to how you're measuring or what it is that is the KPI that you're looking at or what you're trying to get to?
Yeah. So I'm a data nerd. Um, Decently in the wrong part of the profession to be a data nerd, but we do we're I don't want to say blessed. That sounds very hashtaggy, but like we're very blessed to do the amount of business we do. And so I love to be able to help agents
Uh-huh.
inside my own circle and outside be more efficient because so what it allows
Love
me
that
is
word.
yeah, I get to look at on a rolling basis how many files did we open in dot loop, and so that way I know how many buyer agencies we got that month. And then I'll see how many closings they turned into, and I can see the difference, right? I can see what we wrote to what we did. And then I can
Hmm.
help agents in real time going, hey, you wrote 20 buyer agencies, but you only closed 5 deals. So either you're signing the wrong people or your sales acumen's not as good or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
definitely look at it that way. We track everything, but not to an oppressive approach. We try and do it on the backside. So we get to use I use Zapier a lot.
Okay.
So that helps me put things into spreadsheets and know how much business we send to certain attorneys or how many buyer agents, like I said, we open or leads. Our
Hmm.
ISA or our agents, they have to track if they set an appointment to if it actually showed up. And if it showed up, did we actually write them or did we tell them to get lost? Because we don't want every lead. There's crazy people out there. So we're not trying to hit 100%. So I do use that on the backside in a spreadsheet world. So I can look at it almost like a dashboard and say, hey, yeah, we're swinging at 40%, close rate on buyer agencies. And I'm looking for a 35%. So we're doing okay.
And if you find leaks, then you have a method to go back in and patch the leak. And I assume
Correct.
that then that means that you also have some automations that are kicking in to prevent those leaks.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. I just got done, I'm telling everybody this. I just got done reading the Elon Musk biography, which is a really good
Oh
read.
yeah, I
It
read that.
really
Yeah, that's a
is.
good read.
And so one of his big things is like he deletes as much as possible. And then he knows he deleted too much when he has to add 10. He knows he didn't delete enough if he didn't have to add 10% back in. So my part is like, are we doing too much? So let's scale it back. And then if not, okay, what's the most likely thing that could help us get that? So there was another thing I was just reading. I forget where it came from, but it was talking about sending emails actually.
Hmm.
And it was
Hmm.
coupons from a company and they were tracking everything and they would send 3 emails a month with this coupon for a national brand. And they weren't getting the results they wanted. So they looked at it and they sent 4 and the adoption rate went to 30%. Like it went up through the roof by adding one. not taking one away. So it's those little things where you can start testing it out and
Yeah.
not rely on, I call them shiny podcast stars that don't know anything and just tell you.
Mhm.
And you actually get to try it out with common sense. So the leaks and stuff like that, yeah, we look at the metrics to see where we're at. Again, that's why we set the standard. If we get 35% closed people from if we get them from an appointment, if they show up and we close them at 35%, we're good. So if we get buyer agency, we should close them at 65%. So I set that metric, which is based on some math, and then we can tell if we're winning or we're losing, and then we figure out what needs to change.
So you've packaged all this up, and my understanding is you have something that if I'm an agent or a broker, I could utilize or leverage in my business. Are you willing to share that? Is that off the record, or is that something we
Yeah,
can talk
no,
about a little bit?
yeah, yeah, for sure. Meaning kind of like my broker manual, or what do you? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the funny part I find in real estate is I'm gonna tie this a couple different ways. People get in the business, they close 10 deals, 20 deals, 100 deals, whatever it is, and they get the I think I made it itis. I know what I'm doing. Here's this works. And you're like, hey, sweet child, like you got in the business in 2021. Like
yeah,
you're not that great. Let's see you do this in 2012.
yeah.
So but what they do is they hire an assistant and then they think they know everything. And so they get these shiny objects and they follow it. So we've taken time over 18 years, 3,500 transactions, and we put together this broker manual. And it's not the gospel. People can do what they want. This is our roadmap for you. You can follow it or you don't. I've
Mhm.
got agents that do not have a sphere of influence. They're not from this market or they're right out of college. They don't know a lot of people. I have a path for them. It's a 2-year sphere building plan. It's not
Okay.
fun, but I've also got the same agents that have decided not to do it. And they're like, okay, the stove is hot. I'm telling you it's hot. I'm showing you how to turn off the stove. You don't want to. All right, you're going to get burned most likely, or maybe you'll figure out your own way. So we have put that together because I do believe that part of our job as broker owner trainers is to lay out a highway with bumpers and say, hey, if you kind of operate between these two things, we know which way, if you go too far, you'll be okay. But the problem is most people just hire an agent at a company, hand them a binder of nothing, and just say, go sell houses. And they have no idea. And so our attrition rate in real estate's 85% after 2 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
Not surprising. We haven't trained them.
yeah. Right. Yeah. The training manual, right? Push it
Yeah.
over to them. Read up. Good luck.
Yeah. We call it how to effing do everything. So it's a little.
How does someone get a hold of that, or how does someone reach out to you to inquire about that?
Yeah. So all my social media is Brad Allen SC, like South Carolina. I'm happy to share and collaborate. I mean, let's be honest, I didn't create everything in this 160-page manual. I have met a lot of great people over my course of travels, gotten tidbits from here, borrowed from here. So it's just a collaboration of what I think's best and been proven in our business. Can't say it's not working every state everywhere, but it works pretty well. But I'm plugging into Zapier right now to where when a score goes over 80, not only is it alert them and follow a boss because it will go in their CRM. So I'm pushing it to their Slack. I'm making it text them and then I'm making a task to do, like I'm doing all these things,
Hmm.
um, which is interesting. And then we've started our own app through a company called Homestack, which you've probably heard of. They've been in a lot of the trade shows. And so we're using that to gain people and then push them into Revaluate. So it's almost, my trouble right now is to making it so easy so agents can't not call these people. So I don't really
So,
have a
so you,
topic per
you
se.
give that Slack message pops up for the agent. I think that's really cool. I haven't heard of that being done before. That's awesome by itself. So that message pops up to the agent, and it's like Barbara is now an 80.
Yep.
She's a very likely mover in the next 6 months or whatever. And then what message do you have in there for the agent to say to Barbara?
Yeah, so I give them 3 little quick talking points, like literally yeah, it's exactly what it says. It says Barbara blank 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 is her score is this. Now is a great time to reach out. It goes out every morning at 9, and it says, call her up and tell her that you were just in the neighborhood and you were thinking about her and just seeing how life was. Look at your calendar real quick and see when the next company event is. Make sure you invite her to it, or click here eventually, and we're going to have a white pages of Revaluate ideas and responses that they may be able to go through as a thumbnail. Be like, oh, she was a past client. Then maybe I could do these three things, and feel a little more
Yeah.
genuine when they're calling her. So just trying to dumb it down for them. Not that they're dumb, but they're just humans, and they're trying to take they don't log in every day. So how can I expect them to call somebody if they don't log in?
Yeah, it's got to be fast. It's got to be right at their fingertips and easy.
Yeah.
And
So
that process is working. You're seeing some results with that.
we just rolled it out on the actual Slack part on like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, one of them popped up. One of my agents is like, I hadn't talked to this guy since high school, but he somehow have his information. And he's like, yeah, actually, I've talked to you in a while, but I want to sell my house, and it's in a different market that we also run. So we were able to make the referral to somebody else.
Are you thinking of adding in a digital ad layer or postcards or pop buys with chocolates for Valentine's Day or whatever? Pumpkins
Yeah.
for, I mean,
Oh man,
is
those are good ideas. What we do pop buys. We just actually started this year. I stole it from a friend in Mississippi, actually, after making fun of Mississippi. Um, every month we have a pop by that the agents can go on our intranet and say, I want that. They have a certain minimum. We'll put it together, we'll package it. Like this month, obviously, is coming up for Easter. So we have peeps, and it's some
okay,
catchy little
sure. Yeah.
card. It's like, have your peeps call my peeps or something. The
Oh,
agents,
dude,
yeah,
please.
dude,
That's
super
the
cheese,
best.
super
Yeah, I love
cheese.
it. Oh, that
But
is
they
the
can say, hey,
stuff.
I want 20 of those. We buy them, we charge them for sure, but we have it together. So the only excuse they have now is I just got to take it to somebody. And then if they have that excuse, I'll say, I got high school kid, college kid, you can pay them $1 per delivery and they'll do it.
Dude, yeah.
So the Popeyes is a good idea. And I think also a postcard could be a good follow up. Again, I in my mind have to make it to where it doesn't. Obviously, you joke about this. You can't just be like, hey, my AI told me to call you. So it needs to be this
Yes, yeah,
genuine thing,
yeah.
right? So just trying to make sure it always, that's the biggest holdup I've had with agents. Like, I don't know what to say. So I'm trying to give them the talking points to make it feel genuine. And honestly, it starts with a lie. It's like, hey, I was just thinking about you, or I just drove by your house, or
This one-on-one
whatever.
relationship is based and grounded on a bed of lies.
Just like my marriage. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that type of brainstorming, figuring out kind of what's working, and that's stuff that I've heard from our other customers, right? The
Yep.
the pop buy stuff. Once it's an 80, it's sometimes it's difficult to get a genuine conversation just on picking up the phone once. And if it's someone you went to high school with, maybe not. Maybe that's an easier text to send. But if it's a little bit more of your geo farm type contacts in your database, it's
Yeah.
going to take a couple of maybe even a dozen pings before
Yeah.
they're ready to talk. And frankly, the Revaluate score doesn't say that they're ready to talk to you about moving. It says they're
Right.
going to likely in the next 6+ months. So them being warmed up to the idea of talking to you about real estate might not happen right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say one of the things we are adding is again being a curator client. They're great at funnel, like they're great at the facilitation of funnels via their email
Mhm.
campaigns and stuff. So we're working out a funnel. So if somebody is a lead that we don't know very well, they're not a sphere, then we will start a funnel that's it's kind of chess versus checkers, we always like to call it. So it's like, hey, 6 things you need to do to your house to sell it this spring. And if they click on that, maybe the next one's like, hey, what's your best ROI, or what's the best time to list? And we can see if they progress through that. And then through Follow Up Boss, we have these pawns, they call them, to where they kind of raise their hand and we can see, hey, that person just engaged 3 different times. We need to call them.
Yeah, yeah, I dig it. Barry had a script that I liked, that he gave me permission to share. It was something along the lines, and I'm going to murder it, so I apologize. But
Sure.
it was after there's been some sort of engagement from a piece like that, where it was like an ask, but it was soft. It was a soft ask, and it's hey, I know you're probably not ready to move right now, but just curious, if there was one thing you'd like to change about the house that you currently live in, what would it be?
Hmm. Yeah.
And it gets them like, they're not thinking about now the pain in the ass of selling the house or finding another one. They're
Right.
just like, I need another garage.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do a single car garage anymore. This is not
Yeah.
working. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
I thought that
smart.
was a good line.
Yeah, for sure. It keeps the conversation going because that's the other part is you're telling the agent to always make the ask somehow. And they
Yeah.
think they just got to be like, hey, will you sell your house? But it's not that. It's being smart about it and taking them to a pain point and going, oh, well, if I find one with the 2-car garage that's kind of like your house, I'll send it to you. I'll keep an eye out for you. And then now
Yeah.
you've opened dialogue.
Yeah. I love those little nuggets, right? That you're able
Yeah.
to share, that people like Barry share, and I try to bring those out and share them just as you
Yeah.
do. Brad, super awesome having you on Ask the Expert today. Again, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah. So, I mean, easy is social media. It's Brad Allen SC, like South Carolina. It's literally at everything. You can even see what I do on my Peloton at Brad Allen SC if you want to. Not impressive. But you also, I'm not hard to find. You can go I'm one of the co-owners of the Art of Real Estate. So you'll find me. So I'm everywhere.
Thanks again for your time, man. Really appreciate you.
I'm honored you had me on here, Chris. Thank you very much.